everybody, I am Amber Ryan and welcome to my channel. This is my March reading wrap-up. Now if you are one of those that just came from watching my first play of my TBR Clue game, you will realize I look exactly the same from that video and the intros and outros. I'm filming them all at the same time. I'm actually filming this in April, so these videos are coming out late, unfortunately. But yeah, so they're coming out late, but at least they're coming out in general, right? Better late than never. Anyways, so I did read all 7 books from the first Clue game, and I am super proud of myself for accomplishing that, and I'm really glad that I was able to do that because I actually was in a car accident in the beginning of April. It was like the 3rd. It was on a Monday, so it was like April 3rd. I was in a car accident. It wasn't too bad. Nobody got hurt. I was a passenger, and it did hit on my side. They turned in front of us, and so it hit pretty hard on my side. You know, everyone was all right. You know, it was for you know, everything turned out for the best. You know, we're all okay, so that's all that matters. But however, once the adrenaline wore off that night, the pain started setting in, and I have honestly never experienced full body pain like that before. It's like every muscle, the best way I could explain it was like an internal sunburn where every muscle was burning, and it just like, I was sensitive to the touch, and it hurt. You couldn't move. It hurt to move. It was just very uncomfortable and very painful, and I definitely wouldn't wish it upon anyone. And I know people have had it much worse and in much worse accidents, but the only reason I'm honestly talking about this now is because there will be no April Clue game to be uploaded because it took quite a while to actually recover. Fortunately, April didn't go how I wanted it to. I did not have a chance. I did actually play the game. However, I didn't read any of the books from the game because I was just really, I think I filmed me playing the game before the accident, and I just didn't honestly, or I did it way later, and I just didn't have enough time to read the books, and I was more focused on just recovering. I just wasn't feeling like it, and so it's, yeah, it was a challenging, you know, past couple weeks to recover from that. So anyways, now that explanation is out of the way, just to let you guys know, there will not be an April game, but luckily, because these ones are coming out so late, maybe you guys won't miss it too much, and hopefully I will have some other videos coming out this month as well. If not, I will double down next month and have more videos for you guys that aren't just about reading, but I also like to do some video gaming, and I also like to do art. So yeah, so there's going to be a variety of videos coming out soon in the near future, so be looking forward to that. And I'm sorry for missing the April game, but you had to focus on myself there for a little bit. So alright, so finally let's talk about my reading for the month of March. So I did have 7 books to read. So these are all 7 of the books I've read in March. Yeah, so usually I read about 5 to 6 books a month, so doing 7 was pretty good for me, and I was a little worried I wouldn't quite get there, honestly, but I am super happy with how it went, and I feel like I flew through all of these books, to be honest. So we're gonna get into the rest of the video where I talk about what it was like at reading each of these books, and I basically update you guys. Before I started filming, I had already read 2 of the books, but all of the others I filmed either before or after I read the book, so you kind of get to see my legitimate reactions and emotions to each of the books and how I was feeling about each one, so you get all the raw feelings of it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get into it. Okay, so it is Tuesday night. It is March 14th. Yeah. This is what I look like on Tuesday nights. I'm also really tired, so I apologize if I like stutter or if I go into like a deeper voice, because I guess I tend to like talk in a deeper tone when I'm tired. But I just have some thoughts that I want to process and talk about. Yeah. So at this point I have about 2 weeks left of March, and I'm still working on the 3rd book of TBR. In my defense, 2 of the ones that I have read or have been reading were bigger books. So, and I still have I think one more bigger book in the mix, and then the others are kind of average to what I usually read within a couple days. So hopefully I can fly through these others. Right now I'm tackling the biggest book of this Clue game, and that's the one I really want to talk about. So okay, so right now I am reading Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. Now this book, I feel like I should have had a warning before I got into this. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had seen like the cover, I'd seen it like floating around, and I like brief mentions of it on TikTok, but not what it was actually about. So I kind of winged it, and I saw it. It's like, I think it's like technically a bestseller or something. It was in the front of a Barnes & Noble store, and then I get home and I realize it's the first book of a possible series. This is book 1. I think the sequel is Hunting Adeline, which now that I've read the first one, I'm like, yeah, the sequel. Oh no. I kind of have an idea of what the sequel may be about. I literally had no idea what this book was going to be about, and that's kind of my fault. But you know, when you're shopping in a bookstore, especially as big as Barnes & Noble, and you're just looking for books, and for me, I was kind of trying to get out of my comfort zone, and I really did it with this one. But I was also trying to like expand my library and get different genres because of the game. And so this was just one. I knew it was a romance, and it looked good, and I had heard it was good from somewhere. I couldn't even tell you where. And you know, I was just like, oh, it's a romance, and it's also in like the front of the store. It has to be good. And this was like one of the only books, or one of the only copies in that area of the store. So I was like thinking, oh, it's gotta be good. I mean, but this is also like the longest book I've read in a while too. I believe it's close to 600 pages. Yeah, it's close to 600. It's 583 pages long. So this is definitely the longest I've read in a while. I think the longest I've read in the past year or so would be the max would be just over 400. Maybe close to 500, but nothing this long. So you know, so when I ended up getting this one in the TBR Clue, I was just like, oh, this is gonna take me a week to read, because usually my goal is just to read like, you know, 100 pages a day. And luckily here lately I've been reading more than that, closer to 200. I really have pushed myself with this one just because I was like, I can't focus on one book for a week. I can't do it. I was hoping I'd fly through it, be done with it, and that was it. Now, I can't completely hate on this book, and I'm going to give my reasonings and tell you guys about what I'm feeling about really with this book. So at the time of filming this, I am on page 416. Chapter 30, I believe. So I am already nearly 3/4 of the way through this book. and I just have so many mixed feelings about this one. And honestly, like, the back cover really doesn't give you much to go off or like what to expect with this book, and I don't know if that was intentional to kind of I don't know, like, surprise you. Yeah, so basically there's two main characters, two different perspectives, and one is called the Manipulator and one is called the Shadow. Now right off the get-go, I kind of liked the idea of having these two like nicknamed, you know, two personas, and this book hasn't turned out at all like what I thought, but then again, I don't really know what I expected to begin with. So basically, I thought it was going to be a paranormal, like, supernatural romance, and I was kind of, you know, excited for it because it's something different that I haven't read in a long time, you know. And I don't read much romance to begin with, so I was kind of ready for something different. And yeah, so basically on the back it says, okay, the Manipulator, I can manipulate emotions of anyone who lets me, make you hurt, make you cry, make you laugh and sigh. But yeah, so, you know, I was thinking, okay, it's someone with the supernatural ability to control somebody's emotions. And, you know, I was like, okay, that's a cool idea. Like, I was wondering where it was gonna go. And then on the Shadow, it says, you know, he didn't mean to fall in love, but now he has, he can't stay away. And it kind of made him sound like, you know, this supernatural shadow that kind of, I don't know, like he was a villain of some sort. And then, as soon as you open the book, let me find it. So, there is this. And if you guys want to pause the video to read it, you can. An important note. And I was not expecting this. So, as soon as I read this, I kind of knew, oh, I'm in for a dark read. So this book is really dark. It's a very dark read. And I was not prepared. So I'm somebody who loves horror. I love mystery. So therefore, I don't really have a squeamish stomach. You know, I watch crime shows. I have literally watched The Autopsy of Jane Doe. And if you've seen that movie, you know you can't have a weak stomach. Or if you watch the Saw movies, which I have. So, or the Wrong Turn movies. Like, I love horror movies and crime shows, and so you can't really have a weak stomach when you watch that stuff. But this book, like, reading it, you know, it's kind of hit that line with me, you know, where I'm like, I don't know if, I'm just like, it's hit that line where it's almost, it's kind of crossed the line actually a couple times with me, where I'm like, this book, I don't know if, how to feel. I'm mixed. Like, I'm just like, I kind of just wanted to put it down. There's a couple times where I was like, I don't want to say I was like feeling like I was gonna be sick, but it hits some really dark topics that I was just like, wow, now I understand why there's a warning. So let me just say, so this, right off the get-go, it says this book ends in a cliffhanger. So right away I'm just like, oh no. And then also it says, which I'm kind of glad there's a warning in the beginning of the book, but apparently this was a banned or restricted book at one point, and it was taken down. I don't know if this was originally like just an ebook or a Wattpad book or something. Right off the get-go, I'm like, okay, so this is really going to be a dark read. It's hitting sensitive topics. Wasn't expecting it. And so to go into it blind, I don't know if that was kind of naive of me, but I kind of wouldn't want people to go in blind with this one, honestly, because it kind of did hit a couple nerves with me. Yeah, and I'm not going to go into great detail about this one just because there are so many sensitive topics, but I really do have mixed feelings about this one because it's like consent is kind of flexible, is the way I'm gonna put it, and it just really it does touch some disgusting topics that definitely need to be addressed. And I mean, the writing in this book is really good, I will say. but it's just, and the main characters, I can't click with them. Like, they're mentally, it's kind of, they're just different, I guess is the way to put it. And this is just a hard book to talk about because I'm so mixed about it and I'm like so torn, and that's the whole reason I'm like, I don't know what to say and what not to say, honestly. I definitely would, if you think about reading this book, I highly recommend that you actually look up like the warnings. You know, make sure it's not going to trigger you. There is some sensitive topics and it's very dark. So definitely go in when you're not mentally, you know, drained. Like, make sure you're I don't know how to say this, but I would say, like, go in guarded, I guess, is a way. Like, don't let it sink in too deep. Like, don't let it take over your mind, basically. I would say read it when you're mentally stable enough, I guess. Okay, so it is March 20th. So I have just a couple more weeks left of this month to finish the first round of books for the first game of TBR Clue. And I am actually pretty happy with how it's going, and I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to finish all of the books this month. Despite, you know, being so worried about it in the beginning, being so nervous, that game was just a wreck. To finish today, The Secret of Redgate Farm, Nancy Drew. Now this was the 6th book out of, I believe, 50, and I own 26. So my goal is to at least finish the 26 this year. My biggest goal is to finish all 50. I don't see that happening because we're already like a few months into the year, but it's possible because they are really short books. So I knew this one I would fly through in less than a day. Yeah, it's only like 178 pages long, and this one must not be one of the more popular ones because I had never heard of it before buying the books, and honestly, it wasn't the best. I was actually surprised though because this one has a cult in it, and you know, which they got away with a lot more back in the day. I believe these were published in the 1930s, so I believe Carolyn Keene got away with a lot of stuff back then, I think, like what she wrote for kids. But yeah, so this wasn't my favorite Nancy Drew book. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, out of the first 6 that I've read, what my favorite one would be so far. And I honestly want to say Shadow Ranch. I really struggled to read that one, but I really liked the concept of it. So I want to lean towards that one. I don't know. That's a tough question that I'm asking myself. But this definitely is my least favorite so far, I think. It was just really hard to get into. Luckily, I was just listening to it. I hardly touched my book. Except there were a few times where there's like, this one has like her having to crack a code. And so she mentioned like numbers. And the way it's listed in the audiobook that I listened to, it was just kind of strange. So I think that was I picked up the book just a couple times just for that. Trying to see if I could find. Yeah, and unfortunately, because I listened to it on the audiobook, I also did miss out on like all the little illustrations and everything, which I think makes the books. Just because, you know, it's that vintage Nancy Drew look. That's pretty cool. So I did miss out on all of those, but yeah, I ended up doing just the audiobook. I found it on YouTube by Penelope, oh, what's her name? Okay, so I did listen to this one on YouTube. It was posted by Penelope Heaven literally a year ago, and she has like the greatest voice for these books, so I don't know if I'm going to listen to the next one as well from her, but it was just easiest for me to do that. I ended up having to stay home today. I wasn't feeling well from work, so I ended up staying home, and I got to listen to it while also just sitting around and, you know, moping around. I'm also trying to get ready for a craft fair, a local craft fair, so it was kind of nice to have this playing in the background, to kind of just have a chill out day. And you know, it was really nice. It was very chill. So I kind of wish I had filmed more of that, but literally not much was going on. So but that's another one I can check off of the list. And yeah, I don't know when I'll read the next Nancy Drew. I kind of tried to put like some space in between each of the books, but we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely my least favorite though. I don't really have much to say. This one was about a cult that is a fake cult. It's actually a hoax where they're actually hiding that they are counterfeiters in this cave on Red Gate Farm property. So it's just not my favorite, and clearly it's not a very well-known one, because anytime I have when I do I have a book journal, a reading journal, where I go and put all of the books that I have read and do all my ratings and talk about my thoughts and all of that. And I went to print off the cover photo to put in there, and every time I would put Nancy Drew The Secret, it would, or put Nancy Drew, it was just wouldn't pop up Red Gate Farm. I actually had to type it all in. So that's how you know it's not a well-known one. So, it is just number 6 though, and I guess it just didn't land as well as the other ones. I know the first couple ones especially are well known. Secret of the Old Clock and Hidden Staircase. Which those ones were pretty good, but it started off strong, and I think both of those were actually published in the same year. She was well known for publishing more than one book a year. She published, I think, 2 to 3 sometimes a year, depending on and then eventually I think she ended up just doing 1 a year. But anyways, there's also, I found out there are several other series with Nancy Drew. So I don't know if I'm going to continue on to the other series after I finish the classics. I've kind of debated back and forth on whether I want to do that, because I really do like the female detective and the vintage stuff. So it could be kind of considered historical as well. So I think it just depends on where the game takes me. But yeah, least favorite of the Nancy Drews, but I'm kind of glad it's checked off the list and I can move on. So, so I have 2 weeks to read 3 more. I have 3 books left. I have Tuesday Mooney Talks to Ghosts. I have the June Boys and The Twisted Dead by Darcy Coates, which did come in. I don't know which one I'm going to read next. I think it's going to be Tuesday Mooney Talks to Ghosts, just because I think it'll be the longest. I think it's the last big one that's actually left this month. And originally that's the one I was going to read to begin with, but I knew this one would be a quicker read, and it's an easy audiobook. So, you know, it was just easier for me to do a Nancy Drew. And honestly, on a day like today, it's kind of nice to just chill and, you know, listen to Nancy Drew. It's like a cozy read for me. So yeah, anytime you're down or need a chill moment, I highly recommend anything Nancy Drew. Usually I'll go to Gab Smulders here on YouTube, and she plays the Nancy Drew games. And so I love just chilling and, you know, having those on in the background. So highly recommend doing that. I'm liking the Nancy Drew series. This just was my least favorite so far, but luckily I think the next one, I don't know anything about it. I'm kind of going into these blind each time. Of course I knew the first ones because they were more well known, but I've never heard of this next one. The next one I believe is The Clue in the Diary, and I've already saved it from Penelope Heaven. She also did a audiobook for that. She also did a reading for that, so I have that saved on my YouTube. I don't know anything about it, but I'm kind of interested in that one just because it just sounds good. You know, the title just sounds good, so we'll see.
I remember always all the mornings in the park, flying with my friends like we were Superman. Though we are older, everything has changed outside, but we're still together in our hearts. I wish time were frozen and believe that we're still kids. Life has changed, it's falling.
now March 22nd. I'm sorry if you guys can hear my fan. We're having like a little heat wave in Arkansas right now. It's not quite spring yet. I think we're about to have another cold wave, but it's oddly hot today. So, yeah, and it also looks like I'm wearing the same freaking shirt, but I promise I'm not. I just have two tank tops of the same, different color, but the same style and everything. It's what were the chances, right? Okay, so I just wanted to stop and talk a little bit about Tuesday Mooney Talks to Ghosts. So this is the book I'm currently reading. Now, for some reason, I think last I talked to you guys was over the weekend or Monday maybe, when I wasn't feeling well, and I ended up listening to Nancy Drew. So this time I am actually alternating between the book and the audiobook on Audible for this one, because for some reason the past couple days, basically ever since I was sick, my eyes have been really bothering me. And what I think what's going on is I work an 8 to 5 job basically at a computer. So I have been looking at this computer screen. I know today especially, I was looking at this computer screen on and off all day. And, you know, so I think what happened is today, it was utter chaos today. And so I was mostly working on the computer. And so I think my eyes just got really overworked, I think. And so, yeah. So I do plan on maybe getting some blue light glasses to kind of help with that. But unfortunately, for some reason, just the past couple of days, my eyes have been really sensitive. They've been sore. I'm actually not wearing my glasses right now because of that. I ended up throwing my glasses off my face earlier today. So that's how things are going right now. But so unfortunately I am just listening to this book, which isn't a bad thing. You know, I had a free credit from Audible for the month that I just spent on this book. So but about the book itself, so I'm not entirely loving it. I'm not really that into it. I thought I would be really into this book. It sounded so good. You know, I really like treasure hunt stuff. I love, like, if you've ever seen the Uncharted games or played those, I absolutely loved those. I love, like, the treasure hunt, like, movies. Uncharted movie, the movie, National Treasure, The Secret in the Mountain. That was like a Walmart movie or something, and it was really good. But yeah, I love, you know, movies and such like that. So I was really, you know, I had high hopes for this, because it's basically supposed to be this treasure hunt set up by this billionaire who has passed away, and basically his obituary is announcing this big treasure hunt, and they have a few weeks, I think just a couple weeks actually, until his funeral to find the treasure or whatever and solve all the clues and play the game. Now, for some reason, like, when you look at this book, when I looked at this book, it kind of made me think it was like a middle-aged book. It doesn't look like it'd be a young adult or an adult. It looks kind of middle-aged to me. And I don't know why I had that in my head, but the main character is actually like in her 30s. So that kind of threw me off at first. It took me a while to kind of get over that leap. And then, yeah, it's kind of just been a strange read for me. And I don't know if it's because I just have so much other stuff going on in my life that I'm just like not comprehending it or enjoying it as much as I probably would in other, you know, at another time in my life maybe. But, it has a good concept. Like, it has good bones, but it doesn't have, it's just not completely fleshed out, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to explain it. And I'm not fully in love with the characters either. So, Tuesday Mooney is, like, in her 30s, and she's like this, she considers herself to be almost like a private investigator for this hospital, where she does all this research on candidates to basically, to get donations for the hospital. And in order to do so, she basically is just you know, she just Googles and does all this research, and collects it, and she basically gets a big head over it, I think, a little bit, and she gets too comfortable, and she makes some big mistakes, and I'm at this point where she has just, I don't think this would be a big spoiler, but she just lost her job because of the game, and she's kind of in the throes of this very like this billionaire family, this very rich family basically, and she's kind of in the midst of that. She kind of got dragged into it unknowingly, and I don't really like how that storyline is going. The treasure hunt itself is also kind of dull. I was expecting a little bit more excitement or suspense, you know, a little bit more action maybe, but this is really just, it's kind of dull. I don't know, I wouldn't say the writing is bad, it's just the story itself. I'm not quite enjoying it like I thought I would. I'm like nearly 3/4 of the way into the book. I'm at chapter 13. I've read 240 pages of it. So, and I believe, I always forget how many freaking pages there are on these books. And then I start filming and I have to be unprofessional and just go check every time. There are 357 pages in this book, and I've read 240. So, yeah, so I have a little ways to go. And, yeah, I'm going to finish it because I'm already so far, and I mean, it's a decent read, but it's definitely not going to be a 5-star rating, which is very unfortunate because until this point, it was half and half. I really loved The Broken Girls, it got 5 stars. I really loved Letters to the Lost, it got 5 stars. And then I moved on and read Haunting Adeline and would give it 0 stars, I think. But I think I was being nice and I gave it 2 stars or something on Goodreads or something. Or when I was talking to you guys. I don't know. I have so many feelings about that book. And then I read The Nancy Drew, The Secret at Red Gate, and it was probably 2 to 3 stars. So, and I honestly think that's where this one is landing too, unfortunately. So, I really had high hopes for this one. I was really hoping it'd be a good adventure book. Yeah, unfortunately. I'm going to go ahead and hopefully finish it tomorrow. You know, I don't have too much left of it. I'm probably going to be listening to it, honestly. Give my eyes a bit of a rest. And, yeah, I had high hopes. And then I still have, after this one, 2 more books left on this TBR Clue game to read by the end of the month. It's already the 22nd, so cutting it a little close, I think. But I think I'll be able to manage it. I think I will. I have 9 days. Yeah, I think I have about 9 days left to finish the other 2 and this one. And I'm so close to finishing this one, and since I'm listening to it, I'm actually listening to it at like 1.5 speed as well on Audible. But this one, since it is like the last big and longer book of this batch as well. So once I'm through it, hopefully the other 2 will be easier reads. Anyways, so tomorrow I'm hoping to finish this book, and I will give my final verdict then. But right now, I think it'll be a 3-star rating, depending on how it finishes out. I think I have a little over 100 pages left, so we shall see. So it is now March 23rd. It is finally Thursday. I have 1 more day of work this week. I am so wore out, honestly. So basically, I've talked about this I've almost talked to the camera almost every day this week. This week has been very strange for me. It's been tough because the entire week I just haven't felt like myself at all. I haven't been feeling great. So all weekend I felt like trash. And then Monday I ended up taking off of work, which I did film on that day a little bit. because I listened to the Nancy Drew book. And yeah, so I wasn't feeling well Monday, and I was like recovering from whatever that was. And then I went back to work Tuesday, and I think it was fine Tuesday. But then yesterday, Wednesday, was rough because I ended up getting this really bad headache that just wouldn't go away. And I felt like, and my eyes have been like really sensitive and sore. So, yeah. So, I think I'm just gonna have to get some blue light glasses, I think is what I'm gonna do. I think I'm just gonna cave and get a pair for work. Because I do spend a lot of time on screens because I work on a computer all day, so maybe that'll help a little bit. I don't know if that's what's causing it. I've also scheduled to get a haircut tomorrow, so after work. Okay, so yeah, so that was happening. Yeah, and then today the headache kind of carried over, and the eye sensitivity and soreness has also carried over. It was a little bit more manageable today. I had to take Tylenol, and yeah, it's just for some reason it lingered. I am feeling better at this point. So anyway, I did schedule a haircut for tomorrow. I'm hoping, because sometimes if I let my hair grow out too long, I have very thick hair, so the weight of it kind of gives me headaches, which I was really wanting to grow mine out. I have had it longer than this before, but I think I'm just going to go ahead, since spring is around the corner anyways. I think I'm going to go ahead and at least get my ends trimmed anyways, and maybe get some, you know, layers so it's not as weighty. Maybe get it thinned a little bit or something. So I do have that scheduled for tomorrow, and hopefully that'll go well. But that's really the only other thing I can think of to, you know, help with whatever this is. I'm thinking it's just a passing thing. I think there was just one day I kind of overworked myself being in front of a computer all day. So I think that's all it is. But hopefully I'll be at the end of it, hopefully by tomorrow. But yeah, so that's what it's driven me to, though, is to get my hair cut, which I need my ends trimmed anyways, but I can't stand headaches. I don't get headaches very often. When I do, they're like really bad. So yeah, so I haven't really wanted to do anything. I did go to work again today, of course, and the entire time I was on the computer as well. So it's hard to have a headache when you're working on a computer. But anyway, so I did listen to this book in its entirety as an audiobook, just like what I did with Nancy Drew, just because of that. And honestly, I didn't even use my headphones for yesterday. Luckily, we had a few customers come in, and everyone was running around. And usually I work in the office by myself. So luckily I was able to just play it on the computer speakers instead of putting headphones in my ears, because when you have a headache, you know, I feel like that makes it worse, you know. So I did just go ahead and do that. And then today we had a lot more going on, but I was able to, it edged up a little bit afternoon, so I was able to do headphones and finish it up. And I also didn't have as much left today. I think I had about 4 hours left, so it was like 117 pages left today. So I did finish Tuesday Mooney Talks to Ghosts, and I'm honestly like kind of torn. I'm honestly kind of torn on my ratings for this book. So I was torn between giving it 3 stars or 4 stars. Because I think honestly I just read it at a bad time where I'm just struggling right now because of, you know, my mentality of not feeling well and all of what's going on with me, so and in my life. So personally I think I just decided to read it at a bad time and I didn't get a proper shot. But I honestly really enjoyed the ending. What I read today was actually very interesting, which it's closer to the end, so of course all the action is happening and stuff is finally going on. So unfortunately, I think it was also kind of like a slow burn kind of book, I guess. It was very slow going in the beginning, and I was expecting more. I was hoping for more out of this book. It sounded so good, you know, and it's like a little scavenger hunt, you know, but yeah, I don't want to give too much spoilers on this book, so I think I've said as much as I want to say about the plot of this book. And I can't, honestly, it's been such a week, I don't remember what I've said so far. So, but yeah, so I was torn on my rating. I think I've decided, I don't usually do it, but I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. Usually I don't do half stars, but this one is kind of an, you know, an exception because of everything. I think on Goodreads I went ahead and pushed it over and gave it 4 stars. I think I may have given it 3 stars. It's one or the other. But yeah, I think that's the best I can do on this one. Alright, it is Monday, March 27th. Yeah, so I am finally feeling better. I'm finally feeling more like myself. Thankfully, no more headaches. I kind of have my energy back, so I'm feeling pretty good, especially for a Monday, which is pretty odd. Mondays are usually pretty rough. Usually I'm just so exhausted on Mondays. But yeah, you can probably notice the difference. I did get a few inches chopped off. Yeah, I ended up getting it a little shorter than I originally planned, but at least this way I won't have to worry about my headaches for a while. So, but I think it looks better. It's healthier anyways, and no more headaches. So I achieved the goal. My contacts also arrived today, so hopefully, you know, I'm just on the up and up, so I can finally, you know, at least put these glasses aside, at least when I'm filming, so you guys don't have this awful glare. Alright, but to what I wanted to talk about today, I am reading The Twisted Dead this week. I am already halfway through it. I believe there's 345 pages in this book, and I have read 175. So I am halfway through it already. I started it today, and I feel like I'm soaring through this book. It is pretty good. This is the 3rd installment, as I've said before, of this series, the Gravekeeper series by Darcy Coates. And, you know, I'm always excited to see where these characters go next. And we're finally learning a little bit more about the past of one of our other characters, Mason. So I am very excited for that, and I'm kind of getting the hint of like this little blooming romance with our psychic girl and Mason, and yeah, and then our other friend who is helping out and everything. Why can't I remember her name? Zoe. She, I think, is also having this big crush on this gothic guy named Harry, who has helped out a few times in the series as well. So I kind of see those budding out in the future, and I'm very curious about the history and the past of our main character Kira as well, which I'm pretty sure her name is spelled like Kiera. But for me, I have a cousin named Kira, so for some reason when I first started reading the series, I read it as Kira the first go around, and so it kind of just stuck anyways, and that way it wouldn't throw me off because I have a cousin named Kira, so it kind of just threw me off at the get-go, I guess, so I call her Kira. But yeah, so this one is about, she is actually going back and helping another townsfolk person who's kind of this recluse. Now, he only comes out when it's dark. People don't actually see him anymore, and his family used to be a well-known you know, one of the rich families that had a big part in the town's history, and he still lives in, you know, in an inherited manor, and he's very secluded. He's, you know, reclusive. He stays there. He only comes out at nighttime, and so of course that gets people talking. And yeah, so of course the townsfolk kind of poke and make fun of him, and he doesn't like anyone to be around on his property at all. So when the characters first run into him, when you first meet him in the series, he is actually chasing after them with a shotgun, because in the first book they actually go there in order to try and solve that woman's murder in the first book. So that was their first run-in with him, was him chasing them through the woods with a shotgun, mad that they were on his property, not realizing why they were there or anything. He just thought they were vandals, and he chased after them trying to kill them. So in the third one, we're finally returning to kind of that story. It's kind of like doing a full circle, and so that kind of makes me wonder if this is going to be the final book, but we're not getting very many answers about Kira's past just yet. Like, we haven't really addressed that very much in this book yet so far. I'm already halfway through it, so I don't think this is the final book, but we are just basically returning to that character, and now we're finding out more about him and his past and why he is the way he is, why he chased them with a shotgun, and now he is asking for our main girl's help in his own mystery, because he thinks his house is haunted, and that is why he's always reacted and acted the way he has. So it's really interesting to kind of like return to this character that has been, you know, that's basically given them hell this entire time, and yeah, it's pretty wild. So I'm really interested. I'm halfway through, and now they have just gotten to where they are aiding our side character Mason, the med school dropout. We are kind of addressing his past a little bit and getting to know him, and basically finding out why he dropped out of med school. And so it's like we didn't know this entire time until this book, and so it's kind of exciting to kind of get to know those characters better. We're also finding out a little bit more about Zoe's home life and why she's so willing to, you know, go on all these adventures and not wanting to stay at home. And you know, it's kind of interesting to finally kind of get a peek more into these characters and see them more, and see these characters get more fleshed out as we go. So it's kind of like anytime I pick up one of these books now in the series, it's kind of like I don't want to say, well, it's kind of like coming home in a way, because you know the characters and you're kind of just experiencing this with them, and it's like, you know, you're just so familiar with the characters now. It's kind of like you're living it with them and you're aiding them and it's just kind of a breath of fresh air, honestly, to just open one of Darcy Coates' books, especially in a series. It's officially March 30th, and this is after work, so I'm a little I'm still kind of like reeling a little bit. It's been a crazy hectic day at work. So I do want to talk about this book, The June Boys by Court Stevens. This is my current read, the last book of the month, and the book has given me such anxiety that it's crazy. So honestly, I did end up looking up on whether this book is based off true events, and supposedly it is. However, I wasn't able to find very much. Maybe now that I've read the actual book more into it, I can research a little better to figure out how much of it is real and how much is false, you know. But according to one comment I saw, or one review, it did say it was based on true events. So I don't know, you know, the full story yet. I haven't quite finished the book yet, so I was trying not to spoil myself when I was trying to look it up. But so this may be loosely based off true events. I haven't seen that said anywhere on the book so far. But yeah, so this book, yesterday I didn't actually read very much of it because this book for some reason is just kind of hard to get into. I guess because it kind of lands on the same vein nearly like true crime, and unless you're in the right mood, it's kind of hard to really be into like the very serious official stuff, you know. So I did only read like, Jules, what are you doing back there? You're a little noisy. I don't even know if you're picked up on the camera. Oh, she is. You're being cute, but you're being noisy. Yeah. I just got home, so she's a little ready for attention. Can you settle down? My lord, you're shedding. You're like a big old fur ball. Anyways, so this is just gonna be our existence for the rest of us. Fur is flying everywhere. You're shedding so bad. She's losing her winter coat. Anyways, so apparently this book is loosely based on true events. Now I did only read like 68 pages I think yesterday. I didn't get very far. It's just very hard to get into. And then today I am at, whoop, did I hit your nose? You little snoot. I have read up to 248 pages. So I think that means I've read over 100 pages today, which is the main goal every day, is to read at least 100 pages. But I was trying to read as much as possible today just to get me closer to finishing the book, obviously, just because I'm ready to be done with it, to be honest. I believe this one has 359 pages, so I'm getting somewhere with it. I think there's like a little over 100 pages left. So yeah, 248 to 359. So yeah, it's a little over 100 pages left. And I am just ready to be done with this book. And yeah, I have my suspicions on who the serial killer is. Well, he's not a serial killer. He's a serial kidnapper. What did you just do? Why'd you do that? Why are you Frenching? Hmm? You're not a French dog. Anyways, so now that my little distraction is back there behind me. Okay. Anyways, so a serial kidnapper called the Gemini Thief. I have my suspicions on who it is, and I am not going to lie. I have a confession to make. This book was giving me such big anxiety. Ooh, the fur. Was giving me such big anxiety, I was actually debating not finishing the book. So I was not liking where it was going. I was very stressed out about it, and I was like all in my head about it. Of course, when you're reading it, you're just like, you're living this and you're experiencing it yourself, and then you're just like, I don't like where this is going. And the best part about a book is if you don't like where it's going, you can just close it and put it away, right? So it's not actual life. So I nearly debated not finishing this book, and I think it was today when I picked it back up after reading so little yesterday. I really debated on whether to just shelve it again. And I've had this book for so long now that I was like, if I shelve it again, I'll probably never pick it back up. Usually if I start a book and then I shelve it, I don't finish it. I really don't. And I'm very bad about it. So I decided, I finally got into reading it today, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna steam ahead, steam through it, and just try my best to read as much as possible so I don't have as much to read tomorrow, because I knew it was going to take more another day to finish it, because I didn't read very much the first day that I tried reading it. So yeah, so I do have more of it to read tomorrow. Like I said, there's a little bit more than 100 pages left, but honestly, the more I read, the more I was like, oh, I'm actually really getting into this. However, it's still anxiety inducing, it's still stress inducing. And so my confession is, I may have peeked and found out who the Gemini thief is. And really the only way I didn't even look at the finish. I didn't even look at the last page. This book includes a discussion questions, I guess, for if you're reading it in a group or at a book club. And it also includes a bonus scene. So there were some pages in the back, and I went to basically there's a page before the bonus scene saying that some of the letters that are in this book were written by one of the captors, one of the ones that were held captive. He was writing while he was held captive, and the letters were written by him while he was and who it was written to, because they're called the Elizabeth letters. And the only mentions that he does is he calls her the escape artist. So he always writes the letters to Elizabeth, the escape artist. So she, I believe, is the only one that was found and recovered before, and she was the only girl, I believe, and she was found and recovered before any of the others that was taken by the Gemini thief. So I guess that's why she's called the escape artist. And so he writes the letters to her while he's held captive, just because she was the one that got away, kind of deal. So at least that's what I've gathered so far. And there was just a little mention in the back of the book of so I assume that's because it's loosely based on true events, and it did list who her captor was. So I did spoil it for me. I will not spoil it for you. In case you guys decide to pick up this book, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But so I kind of have an idea of where this is going to lead now, so I'm not as stressed about it, to be honest. I think that honestly gave me the little kick I needed to finish the book, just because I didn't like where it was going originally, and honestly with who it ends up being, it makes me feel a lot better about where it's going. It's a shocking revelation on who it was. I wasn't expecting this person at all to be the Gemini thief. But I'm honestly glad it is this person, because the original couple of suspects that they had would have really hurt the main character, and it would have been a lot worse. And honestly, where it is right now, it's kind of been hurting, you know? So it's it makes it an easier read for me, knowing that it's not these suspects, because they're just too close to the main character. And when you're seeing everything through the main character's eyes, and you're experiencing it as the main character when you're reading it, it's just very hard to endure. And like I said, it was very anxiety and stress inducing, and I couldn't do it. I'm a weakling, I'm sorry. So this book especially, I did kind of cheat. I spoiled it for me, and yeah. So I'm not mad at myself for doing that, honestly. I'm really glad I did it, because otherwise I probably would have just shelved the book again and not have finished it, because the way I saw it going, my predictions, where I thought it was gonna head, I was not very happy with. So it was going to be very painful, I think. Alright, so I feel like I'm filming in just a very noisy setting today. The Arkansas is just having the weirdest crazy wind today. It's I think they said 50 to 60 miles per hour today. So, and there's already been a big tornado out towards Little Rock, so it's a nutso day. It's a Friday. Okay, so today is also the final day of March, and I feel like my head was a little cut off. You guys are going to see my fan. It's also really hot indoors, so that's another one of the sounds you guys are going to be hearing. I'm sorry. There's just no avoiding it. It's too hot. So, especially when I have these lights on. So, unfortunately. Okay, so as I was saying, today is the last day of March. It is the 31st. It is a Friday. Hallelujah, it's Friday. So hopefully I can get this video edited throughout the weekend or something, but I have a lot going on. So okay, so I just want to talk about the June boys, and So I did finish the book today. I actually finished it before lunch. So the other half of the day I was kind of sitting around like, man, I wish I had more of that book to read. So in the end, this book definitely won out for me. I did end up giving it a 4-star rating on Goodreads, which kind of surprised me because how it started off, I just wasn't loving this book. I wasn't feeling it, I wasn't into it, and I was just, like, it was close to being a DNR. So I was very surprised that by the end I was considering it to be a 4-star read, but it really won out for me. Like I said, on the second day of reading it, like the first 68 pages I read on the first day, at that point I was like ready to just shelve the book again and just put it out of my mind and just take a punishment roll for the next game. And then the second day I continued reading and I actually started to get into it, and it started to really unfold, and it became an actually like really interesting story to read. And then today I was kind of sad to finish it. So it's kind of weird how it took such a big turn from the beginning, because I was really was rooting against this book in the beginning. Like, even as soon as I chose it to be a part of this batch, I was just like, I'm not gonna like that book. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna end up taking a punishment roll. And that's why I waited to read this this month. And oh my gosh, it was a good book to end on, honestly. Okay, so upon looking at my footage, I don't believe I actually reviewed or talked about this book, because technically I had read it right after playing the Clue game, and I hadn't started filming. You know, I didn't know how I was gonna do the videos quite yet, so I didn't start filming my reactions and my feelings about the books until after reading a couple, I think. So this one was fully read by the time I started filming the wrap-up video. The Broken Girls by Simone St. James is a really good book. I gave it a 5-star rating, as well as her other 2 books that I've read. I've read The Sundown Motel and The Book of Cold Cases, which I highly recommend those as well. I've actually gifted The Sundown Motel to a couple of family friends, so, and one of them really liked it, so, but, yeah, so I do recommend this one. It was pretty good. I love Simone St. James because she's a really great writer. She's also very atmospheric, and she really pulls you into the space and into the characters. And it's kind of telling 2 stories at once, but they have like they have parallels and they're the same, you know, in a way. And they take place in 2 different timelines, or 2 different eras, I guess. 2 different times. Vermont 1950 and Vermont 2014 are the 2 timelines for this book, and it was pretty great. I'm trying to decide how much I want to say about this, because I don't want to ruin it for you guys as well, but it was actually had a couple plot twists to it that really got me. So I was pretty happy reading this book. I soared through it, and I didn't want to put it down. So I'm really looking forward. I really want to read her other books as well, and I'm looking forward to anything new that she wants to put out as well. So I can't wait for her next book. I really can't. I think that's all I'm going to say about this one. I don't really want to ruin anything, so, but this was a pretty good one. Okay, so this is the end of my March reading wrap-up. I hope you guys have enjoyed these couple videos of the TBR Clue game. It's been a blast. I have really enjoyed it, honestly. I did face some dark times with Haunting Adeline. Hopefully we'll never experience that again. Yeah, I'm getting rid of that book as soon as I can, honestly. But, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about my final thoughts. Or the final data, I guess would be the right way to say it. So in total, I read 2,481 pages in March. I read 7 books, and yeah, that was quite a bit. So, and out of those, I believe I loved 4 out of 7 of them. So, I had 2 5 stars, 2 4 stars, and then I had about a 3.5, almost 4 star, and then I had a 2 star and a 0 stars, which was Haunting Adeline. So, and Haunting Adeline was the only one I did not fully finish. I think I had 20-30 pages left, but I'm counting it as I did read it because it was such a long book, and I did get so close to the finish line, and I just mentally decided I couldn't do it. So, but considering how much time I put into it and the effort and how much of it I did read and how close I got to the end, I am counting it as a completion. So, but I am giving it 0 stars personally. I don't actually know what I did give it on a Goodreads. I think I gave it 2, but yeah. So, anyways, I am pretty happy with how much I read in March, which I'm really glad I read so many, considering April ended up being a dud month for reading. I think I've only read 1 book in April, so, but it was a good book. So, I read The London Seance Society, so, yeah, and I think by the end of March, I have read 18 books towards my 60 book goal for the year on Goodreads. So that's pretty good as well. I'm super happy with that. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing the next game when I have the bonus weapons in play. So really look forward to that, guys. I'm super excited. I'm throwing a few little curveballs in there, and I can't wait for you guys to see those in play. So I can't wait. Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this month's TBR Clue game and my TBR reading wrap-up. I hope you guys have had a great March and are having a great April. Hopefully these are still coming out in April. And I'm sorry they were so late. There's just so much going on in the beginning of April that nothing went to plan. So, but I hope you guys had a great time seeing these, and I have really enjoyed it. So I hope I get to see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.